Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the fabulous Lock and Load show, broadcasting across the universe, simulcast on gun channels, and pretty much around the globe, around the planet, keeping you up to date on all the fun firearms and some crypto and prepping stuff. It's been, it's been, I don't know, but today I've been watching just all the football, soccer games around the world because we've got the African Cup of Nations games in Cairo. We've got the World Cup in Paris, the Women's World Cup, and the Gold Cup, the Men's Gold Cup matches. If I get it right, the CONCACAF or something, the continent of North and Central America and the Caribbean, CONCA Federation Gold Cup. And I gotta tell you, you said you fell asleep watching soccer once when you were on duty.
Yeah. So I was it was brigade staff duty, 24-hour shift, which means you gotta get up, you gotta do PT in the morning. Your 24-hour shift starts at 9 a.m. So by the time 9 p.m. is rolling around, 10 p.m. you're like, hey, if you're not drinking, you're starting to, the Z monster starts to catch on. And I think around like 1 a.m. I ended up on some English soccer.
So, well, I think the international competitions have their own, interesting aspects. I mean, like the Swedish women's team, they're like all blonde. So if you like watching blonde girls run around, except for one player, everybody was blonde on that. So if you like blonde girls, Sweden's the team for you, and I think they won today. Yesterday, France and the women's games, France and Brazil, those girls play dirty. And I was just commenting. Well, first thing that I couldn't help notice was the French team had the worst uniform ever designed. It looked like a hospital gown. I mean, I've had hospital gowns that were bad. I mean, Paris is supposed to be the center of fashion, right? And it was white with blue dots. It looked like a hospital gown, and the socks matched the jerseys, and it just looked god awful. It looked like a bunch of ladies who had escaped from a hospital had broken onto the pitch and were running around. Except they knew how to play better than just some crazy people from hospital. But that whole game with France and Brazil was foul. They were intentionally fouling each other, because both teams were too good. So they didn't want the other team to get a rhythm going. So it was they couldn't run 5 yards without a foul, and it was at one point this one of the better French players was dribbling the ball and contesting the ball with a Brazilian player, and she won the ball, but before she could get away from the other player who had fallen down, Brazilian lady put the French ladies, used both her legs and put the French lady basically grabbed the French lady's ankle in an ankle lock. I thought she was gonna, and the French player just stopped and looked at her like, "Are you crazy?" And so then the Brazilian player got up and ran like 150 yards down the field as fast as she could, with the referee chasing her all the way so she could show her a yellow card. As if she ran fast enough, the referee wouldn't want to chase her to give her the card. But man, in the African World Cup, what was interesting, I was one of the Mali versus Mauritania games. It's not that they had bad sportsmanship; they seemed to really get along well, both teams. But it's just the way that they played was like brutal. I mean, there was like one guy did a spinning elbow to an opposing player's Adam's apple, hit him right in the Adam's apple, and and it's supposed and one time a player was running towards the goalie and he had broken free past all the defensive lines and he was running with the ball. So the only way the goalkeeper could stop him was he did basically ran at him, did a leg whip, took him down with a leg whip before he could score a goal. And the referee just gave him a yellow card for that. And I was like, okay, if that was a World Cup in Europe, that would be a red card and an ejection. Because in European football, you're supposed to tackle the ball. You're not supposed to just wipe out the other player and break his leg. And it was, but they weren't mad at each other, which was they were. It was just the way they played. I guess in Africa, it's just a little more brutal. I don't know. And
I saw the shirts you're talking about.
Oh,
yeah.
In France, the French ladies uniform.
Yeah, they do look a little weird. I could totally see someone like it's like a preppy white guy should be wearing that shirt with had a collar on it. Like a golf course. I mean, it's not like it doesn't look like something you wear for soccer, football, whatever.
Okay. By the way, it says Hangouts on Air is going away later this year. So I don't know how much longer
Correct.
people on gun channels. Does that mean no more Hangouts for gun channels, or what's that?
What Matt is going to do, Never Enough Ammo, is he's just going to run streams off of OBS.
I don't even know what that is.
There's a bunch of different stream softwares you can use, and what he usually uses that streaming software for is like gaming streams. So then what he does is he sets up like a phone call through like a Skype or something like that, or I don't know, some other, maybe he uses Google Hangouts, I don't know, but so you're gonna like set up an online phone call via a different method, and then you stream over like a video game streaming service, and that will let you stream directly to YouTube that's not using Hangouts or something like that. So
it sounds weird. I'm gonna have to figure it out later, I guess. I don't know. They haven't set a date for this yet. Ending?
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that there's other ways you can do it too. There's software you can get, and pretty much the Hangout will be gone, but there'll still be ways, supposedly, that obviously people are going to be fighting to come up with ways to, at least for content providers.
Yeah, well, at least they let me share. The last 2 weeks, I couldn't even share a screenshot or anything, and so I'm going to talk about the price of gold later. So I had this screenshot. I was like, all right, they're going to let me share it. But you saw the French ladies' uniforms. But there was a lot of good games because you got to see teams in between the Gold Cup, the World Cup, and the African Cup of Nations. That you would never see, people from countries you would never see, and like when the United States played Trinidad and Tobago, and what was really funny that happened, like in that game, reminded me of what's going on with Iran, because the Trinidad basically the first half was like 1-0. The U.S. scored 1 goal. The second half started, and basically the U.S. team, the men's team, compared to the competition at the Gold Cup, is just their passes were all on target, and they basically possessed the ball like over 90% of the time. So the other team gets frustrated, right? Because if they get the ball, they get like 2 or 3 passes, and then they're back on defense before they lose the ball, and they can never get the ball away from the U.S. team. So at one point, the Trinidad and Tobago players got pissed, and they basically wanted to fight and so then the whole team wanted to fight the U.S. players, and I don't think the U.S. players would have won that fight, but they could outplay them in soccer. So it looked like there was going to be a fight. The referees charged in and shut that down, and then after that, the U.S. they didn't let them have the ball, and they wound up like winning. The U.S. won 6-0. They just made them look bad in a soccer kind of a way without fighting. And so that's like what Iran is doing. They're just frustrated because they're losing the economic war, and um, uh, I just heard that Oklahoma is working on his fire truck tonight. Since he's the captain, if you don't work on it, nobody else will. So yeah, it's like Iran's just the whole thing with Iran is like they're losing the economic war. Their economy is in tatters. Like people that just are working like 3 or 4 jobs can't scrounge enough money to buy food, and so they shoot down a fucking drone. it's an expensive drone, and they blow up some oil tankers. But they can't.
Whose oil tankers were they?
Well, I don't know. I think there's one Japanese one, some United Arab Emirates ones. What they did in the 80s when Reagan was president, I thought I heard Squib yell or something, but I didn't see him come in. It was my imagination. But what they did in the 80s was what the U.S. did is they reflagged Kuwaiti oil tankers with American flags. So then if they were attacked by Iran, then the U.S. Navy could come in and just charge in and blow the shit out of the Iranian Navy, and which isn't that hard to do for the U.S. Navy. That's what they did because they reflagged the tankers, so all the Kuwaiti tankers were flying American flags, and so they got American protection. But so I don't know if they're going to bother to do that. The thing with Iran is they're just getting their ass handed to them economically by the sanctions, and so they're frustrated. Now, the interesting thing is some of the European politicians who are out of government and get hired to work for companies that deal with Iran, they're trying to get around the sanctions. They've got some new system trying to replace this. They have a new banking system that they created to get around the American Treasury Department SWIFT system, which is basically since the U.S. dollar is a world reserve currency, it's like a lever of power. And so the U.S. government can say, okay, anybody that deals with Iran can't use the SWIFT system. And so nobody's going to deal with Iran that wants to use the SWIFT system. So, and they can track who's dealing with Iran because all the international currencies is on the SWIFT system, blah, blah, blah. And so they invented a different system like the SWIFT system, except the Treasury Department has nothing to do with it. It's a European system called like Instex or something like that. And it's supposed to do kind of the same thing, but it's all about trying to escape the Treasury Department's grip and the U.S. Department of Treasury. And so whether they can do that, but it's like, so our allies really aren't being, basically the former German Chancellor, Tony Blair from England, everybody, they get paid to be consultants with these corporations that do make money by doing business with Iran. And so it's just interesting. It's kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of the gold and crypto surge. Like this chart I have up right here is just like Argentinian peso, and so you can see this is the price of gold for the last 10 years in pesos, and it's pretty much gone up. So, and we're at, I think in dollars, it's like 1,440 now or something like that. So, but the gold to silver ratio is at a ridiculous high. Like you can get 92 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. So anyway, but I wanted to get Mac 11 update with you because I hadn't heard anything since you were on the show with it. Have you taken it out to the range?
Yes. Let me make sure my headset's correct here. Yeah, the first time I took it out to the range, it was the trigger was kind of like, woof. So I took the entire thing down to nothing. Spars had come apart, all the sprit pins and all of that junk and springs, everything out. and cleaned the hell out of everything. And then the trigger was actually really good. That's something I'm
Just
finally
cleaning
getting.
it? Just
Cleaning
cleaning
it.
it did that?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was
That's
what,
something I've noticed. Just, I mean, the thing's old. I mean, the thing's from like, I'm guessing like right before, guessing like '93. I don't know. I don't know exactly when it's from, but
93 is old? Well, I remember when in the 70s, when I was a kid, somebody tried to sell
well,
me a Mac 10. It would have been a great financial investment, but I think I bought a 1911 instead. So
what I mean by old is, I mean, in retrospective of like, I don't know, pieces of shit that that's not a good way to put it. Because I think all right. So I got a crusty. There you go. Here's the word crusty. So I got a high point recently too, and the trigger was terrible, and it wasn't like functioning that well. I spent like 10 minutes with a brush, took the entire thing apart, cleaned all the gunk out of it, and the thing feels good. Like it doesn't feel great. It feels way better than what it did, and that's exactly what happened with this Mac. And one thing that's different though is the Mac definitely like kicks your finger out. Like when the trigger, it's like the trigger slaps your finger. I don't know if that's just because it's a hammer fired gun or what, but it shoots great and it makes you feel like you're in. I haven't been able to hip fire it because of the range rules. Excuse me. People are gonna freak out at the range. Oh man, this guy's hip firing. He's gonna mow everybody down, and all the bullets are gonna leave. All the bullets are going to leave the range, killing babies right on the other side of the berm. So I haven't been able to hip fire it yet, but
well, maybe they'll get you for that. There's this case. I'm gonna, yeah, if I could do this screen share on it. That let me see if I can punch it up really quick on my computer anyway.
so
Right. About machine gun. Some guy got convicted for not paying his tax on a machine gun he owned, but the government basically had passed a law that prohibited them from collecting the tax. So there was no way he could pay the tax that he was convicted of not paying for his machine
nice.
gun.
That sounds about right. The Mac, I put a front sling mount on it, like the fabric front sling mount. It
Okay.
uses a yeah. So Cobra still exists if you didn't know, and they still have old stock parts, including a whole new upper. I was thinking about I don't need it though. But so I put the front sling mount on there. I got a flusher mount mag, and I was gonna look for a holster for it. I had somebody offer me at the gun shop. I showed it to the guys at the gun shop, and the guy offered me 2,000 for it. But I turned him down because in my state it's a pre '98 pistol, so therefore you can legally carry that pistol. So that
Cool.
just it's not really cool because it's really a piece of crap. But the coolness is just like the '80s gun guy. You know, you're gonna be. It's when you put it on and you get a leather holster, you're gonna turn into Lone Wolf McQuade. You know.
Well, that's the Chuck Norris movie, right?
Yeah. So like
Is it? Did he
it's.
have a 10 or a Mac 11 in that?
I forget. He had duels, didn't he? Isn't there this like
I
a
don't
scene
remember.
where he uses both of them? Like they took like the single-sided leather holster and they made a dual Mac holster for it just for him.
All I remember that's when Chuck Norris goes to Mexico or something, and
I don't even remember myself. I don't know what that says about the movie, but yeah, he's got a something happens and he's got to go chase down these guys, and maybe it is in Mexico. I forget. Somebody
some drug
somebody
cartel, thing.
yeah. And anyways, I mean that's the whole thing is it just gets that's why the guy offered me so much for it because like in New Hampshire it's not worth that much. You can get a new one right now with a brace.
Well, you should have just haggled him up for a few thousand, and then got another one with a profit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't because I'm in this state. So, but
Oh,
It's got to be on the roster. Anything pre 98, anything post 98 has to be on the roster, and anything pre 98, most people won't deal with you unless if you have paperwork, and I have paperwork. So, like most people won't buy it from you unless if you have paperwork proving that it was transferred before 98, which is just insane, but whatever. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a lot of it. It's
So
stupid.
explain to me what's the difference between a Mac 10 and a Mac 11, and anybody that doesn't know.
I'm not an aficionado, but mine is a Mac 11 /9. I'm pretty sure the Mac 10 is in 45.
I don't remember.
I don't actually know myself. You know how many videos I've watched on the Mac? Like, I don't know. This is you need to just laugh at me.
Okay, but what's the difference between a Tech 9 and a Mac 10?
Well, I guess the Mac 10 is in 45 or 9. The Tech 9 doesn't have the magazine in the pistol grip. It has the magazine forward of the pistol grip.
Okay,
And that also
that's something Democrats don't like?
Oh yeah, big time. But it's I think the Tech 9 came from Intratech, which is what George Kelgren, the guy who ended up being Keltec. And I just know Tech 9. I know a guy who's got one in Mass, and I wanted to buy it from him for a couple of years now because
when I was a kid, they used to advertise street sweepers in the penny saver. Things have changed. And that was in California, so I don't know. I think the world's getting worse.
Yeah, I know that. I know I watched the what is it? The Mac comes from Military Armament Corporation, and yeah, I mean my biggest thing is everybody knows, at least from my generation, there's a rapper who calls himself Tech 9. So he's one of the Squib's here. What's up, Squib? You gonna drop a knowledge bomb?
Give him a chance to get his
What do you need to know?
All of it.
42.
See? All right. The show's over, folks. Now.
What's 42?
The answer to life, the universe, everything.
Okay.
You missed that movie, HBS.
I guess so. I was too busy watching the other good ones that Squib never watches. I keep sending him texts telling him to watch The Bridge on the River Kwai, and that was on the other night, and the original Guns of Navarone, David Niven and Gregory Peck. You didn't watch any of that stuff.
I watched a Western this weekend.
What Western?
It was called Big Kill.
Big Kill? Who was in it?
Lou Diamond Phillips and the guy who plays Machete.
Oh, I may have seen that.
Is that Danny Trejo?
Yeah, I may
That's
have.
it. Thank you.
I may have seen that once and remembered it was bad. Isn't that like Machete? His movies are like Machete Kills or See Machete Kill or See Machete Run, See Machete Kill, or Machete Has Knife or something.
So what did I stumble in on?
We were talking about Jared's Mac 11, and I asked what's the difference between a Mac 11 and a Mac 10, and what's the difference
Caliber.
What's the difference between a Tech 9 and a Mac 10?
George
Mac
Kelgren?
10 and a Tech 9 are the same caliber. A Mac 11 is a different caliber, right?
I just double checked, and the Mac 10 can be a 9 or 45.
Yours is a 40. Your Mac 11 is 45 only, right?
My Mac 11's 9.
Oh, okay.
I thought the Mac 11 was 380 and the Mac 10 was 9mm. Maybe it's the other way. I don't know.
Well, yeah, see, I always get confused too, but mine's a Mac 11-9, and that it might just be a semi-auto name. Who knows?
So did the Democrats pass some bill in the House to make all semi-automatic weapons illegal or something? Hopefully that never passes in the Senate.
I didn't hear that. I was busy being triggered when I heard Jared from Guns and Gadgets brought up my what is it, my congressman. He's the wounded Marine officer who's got like 3 whatever for like getting wounded 3 times or something. And he says, "Oh man, it was like
Purple Hearts.
It was a Purple Hearts. Either way, his name is Seth Moulton, and he said like New York Post, or I don't know, New York Times, one of those. It was like, hey, in an ideal world, do you think we'd be safer without handguns? And then he just paraphrasing, he goes, well, in Iraq, I carried an assault rifle and a sidearm, and those don't belong in our streets. Now I'm not. I respect the Second Amendment, but we don't need to have weapons of war in our streets. I was like,
I'm pissed now. Trump's going after the fucking suppressors.
Yeah, this guy just suggested that his Beretta M9 is a weapon of war and doesn't belong in our streets. What?
When I got out, I didn't think that it was a good idea for civilians to have machine guns or anything that was a little bit heavier, like a grenade launcher, RPG, a law, anything like that, explosives, stuff like that. After thinking about it for a couple years, I changed my mind and I said, no, it says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, I really don't want my neighbors having an RPG in their living room and they're going, how does this work? And they shoot it through the window and hit my house with it.
They'll blow up your garden by mistake.
But in the same regard, there's no law preventing them from filling their garage with 55-gallon drums of gasoline. And if their house catches fire because somebody left the toaster on too long, that shit could spread and burn my house down. So there's more than one way to get killed by your neighbor's negligence. So I'm not going to worry about if my neighbor's got a hand grenade or something like that. But for a couple of years there, when I got out, I didn't have a problem with semi-autos, and I didn't have a problem with any of the other stuff. But I was like, nah, I don't know that I want like the idea of somebody having access to this stuff. But it didn't last long. It really didn't. If this guy's been out for a while, and if he was an officer or something like that, yeah, dude, you need to get your shit straight, because you served in the military to defend our right to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say what kind of arms. It just says to keep and bear arms. You served to do that. So if by you saying, oh, I don't think people should have these weapons, you're actually going against your own oath to preserve and defend the Constitution of the United States.
He was specifically asked the question about handguns. So he doesn't.
Yeah, but see, okay, in the Marine Corps, we're trained your sidearm. Your sidearm is what you carry when it's kind of impractical to have a long gun. So when you're on sentry duty, or if you're an MP, or like I would guard the ammunition, I would have that, something like that. Officers have them. A lot of times, they're M16s in the armory or whatever, but for the most, you hardly ever see the officers with their rifles. Everybody gets issued a rifle, but not everybody carries one. It's used to keep the group under control. If you're the only one with a gun, but primarily it's a defensive tool as your last ditch.
Yeah. Do aviators carry? They get issued a rifle? Like if you're
but the only time I ever seen them take the rifle up was when we were in Somalia. We broke an M16 down shotgun style and stuck it in the cockpit of the Cobra. It's a tight fit, but they carried it for extra firepower.
The Cobra needs extra firepower.
If you get shot down, and look, we went in right after Black Hawk Down, and we said if one of our aircraft go down, we don't care. We're throwing everything at it. We're not doing all this, wait for permission and wait for the freaking UN and all this. No.
Yeah, you're the Marines. That's how you roll.
Well, those guys got a raw deal because there was a lot of BS and red tape that kept them from getting rescued. But yeah, no, I mean there are times where a long gun can be stored in your vehicle or something else like that, but it's really kind of impractical to keep around. You might have drivers that might carry a sidearm or whatever, but primarily a sidearm is a defensive weapon. It's the guy who said you use your handgun to fight your rifle. Dude, what branch did you serve in? The Girl Scouts? You don't use your handgun to go. You go to your handgun when your rifle goes down. You know.
Yeah, it's like I'm not good enough with a pistol to use it for anything except. I mean, yeah, I prefer a long gun every time if I can get to one.
But the thing is, it's impractical to, okay, like for example, in Michigan, we have open carry, right? I can walk right down the street with my AR-15 slung across my shoulder, and I'm not breaking the law. I might get stopped by a cop, and I might have a cop that's stupid who doesn't know the laws, and that could make some trouble for me. But overall, I have the legal right to do it. And I think somebody would feel much more comfortable with me open carrying a sidearm on my hip or concealed carrying a sidearm than open carrying that long gun. And I think anybody who thinks a handgun has more firepower than a long gun is sadly mistaken. But that handgun in civilian use is good for kind of low profile, you know, you can conceal carry a handgun much easier than you can a long gun. It's just, it has its more practical uses. A cop might have a shotgun and an AR-15 in his squad car, but when he gets out, only thing he's wearing is his taser and his handgun. So there's a practical reason for it. Yeah, for this guy to be saying that, you know, he doesn't like, I understand that most crimes are committed with handguns. And the reason that is concealability. The bad guys don't open carry, not until they're about ready to commit the crime. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like these people say, oh, well, if you open carry, you're just going to scare the crap out of people. No. When you start open carrying, when your state allows you to, and you open carry on a regular basis, you make seeing a handgun in the possession of a law-abiding citizen a normal thing. You normalize it. But no, I don't think that people should be denied access to handguns just because most crimes are committed with handguns.
It's not the people that care about whether you have open carry or not that you have to worry about. It's the people that could give a shit whether there's open carry is legal or not. They have to worry about. And I think most police will tell you they're afraid of like small concealable pistols that they can't see until somebody pulls the trigger and shoots them. So because the small pistols or the subcompacts are really easy to hide anywhere.
This whole thing just touches on another subject that's a hot subject right now, is about banning suppressors. Somebody introduced the HERE Act from New Jersey. Two different people introduced one in the House and one in the Senate or something. But either way, I love it because criminals don't ever want to use suppressors because you can't conceal them. Like to have one on the end of a gun and have it concealed and then pull it out quickly and use it and then leave, it doesn't make any sense. If it did make sense, then there'd be criminals using suppressors, especially in my state.
I mean,
well, we were saying after the Las Vegas thing, okay, nobody has used a bump stock in a crime ever, and now this guy does, and they want to ban him. One time ever, and now it's like, wait a minute. If that's the case, then they're going to go at the very first time somebody actually uses a suppressor in a crime that's high profile, they're going to go, and look what happened. Now they're going after them, and it seems to be the in thing to do, or the cool thing to do, or the in thing.
It's like banning switchblades. They in movies they seem to work, but in real life they don't just sound like when you shoot them.
Well, the politicians are ignorant. They don't want to learn. The public is ignorant. They don't want to learn. And that guy's got an exhaust leak. And they play follow the leader. Oh, well, Senator Joe did it, so I better do it too.
There's the other thing is it's such an easy fix to go, hey, you've seen suppressors in movies, right? Yeah, let's ban him. This guy just killed a bunch. It made him easier to commit a mass shooting. It's like, oh, no, not even let's discount the fact that the bullets weren't movie James Bond quiet. Forget about that even fact. Nobody heard the people screaming and running and yelling mass shooting and people screaming call the police and yells and not it doesn't even make sense. To say that it made him more deadly, it doesn't. Even if they were movie quiet, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, no, I mean, just look at this. Like, look from a politician standpoint. Hey, I'll make you guys safer. Let's ban that. Hey, one guy used this and was high profile. I have the fix. I can make you all safer. Let's
I
ban
heard
that.
that American Suppressor Association's got some sort of petition. I got to go check out their website to see if this is on the up
Yeah,
and up.
I got the email from GOA to sign a petition for that Trump is like to Trump basically uh, I don't know. I got it from the GOA. I automatically signed it. So
See, this is why when they were throwing the bump stocks in the fire, I was saying these things are going to get banned no matter what. Let's twist this and get national reciprocity, or let's get the Hush Act approved or something. Let's reverse it on them. Let's throw pork barrel on them and say, all right, you want bump stocks? Get suppressors off the NFA. You want bump stocks? National reciprocity, something like that. And they're like, no, we can't do that. And then we did it. They went about taking them away illegally. The government did not follow their own procedure in order to ban bump stocks, which is BS. But we did a really lousy job of fighting for them. I don't know if suppressors is going to go the same way. There's a lot more people who have suppressors who care about suppressors, so they might fight harder.
I think Trump actually, he's not a real gun guy. He just supported the NRA because he knew it would get him a lot of votes. And it was like red meat for Republicans. But he's not, he obviously thinks that there is such a thing as reasonable common sense gun control. And gun control just doesn't work. This thing with suppressors, it's like banning switchblades. In Hawaii, they banned switchblades. Well, I have no interest in ever fighting with a switchblade. It's like the whole thing, if you stab somebody with it, it hit a bone, the whole thing will just, the blade will go flying out. It's not a strong enough mechanism to bet your life on. There's other better designs, but they've been in movies. So every bad guy in prison seems to have a switchblade. So I don't know how they get one in prison, but it's just, when the government tries to do something, it usually has the opposite effect of what they're actually trying to achieve. So rather talk about gold right now. Speaking of when the government tries to do anything, and the Federal Reserve. So you know that the buying power of the U.S. dollar since the Federal Reserve was founded is down by 98%. And what I was texting you guys about over the week was why the stock market is going up. It's because everybody is pulling their money out of Europe, and they're printing more money in Europe because the banks are failing, and the governments are failing, and the government bonds are failing, and the companies are failing, and they're putting in the U.S. stock market. It's not because we're that. They're doing the same bad things that we are. It's just that it's like if you're running from a bear or a bear market, you just have to be faster than the slowest person. And the European banks are just really screwed up. So they're a lot slower so if they put their money in the U.S. stock market, I mean, it'll be safer than anything in Europe that they could pick, because they've gone total full Mario Draghi. They're going to print as much money as necessary to keep that Ponzi scheme. I mean, the euro is basically done. And Brexit, my God. So it's like the new guy that's taken over for Thatcher. Basically, he's going to go to the EU and say, well, if you don't like this deal, then we're leaving without any deal. Screw you. and then the Europeans can say, well, this is the way our deal. You could either take it or get lost. Well, if they don't get a deal with England, then the euro is toast. And unfortunately, they'll probably everybody else will circle the drain with them if all of the EU goes. So when I was showing you the chart of gold compared to fiat currency, I mean, you might want to grab some while you still can. That's what the Chinese and the Russian governments they're dumping treasuries and buying gold. But you have European bonds, you definitely want something else, anything else. That's why crypto seems to be doing quite well lately. Did I say Thatcher? I meant Theresa May. Did I say Thatcher?
Yeah, I was like, if Maggie Thatcher's still around, there's still hope.
I'm so old. I remember when they got rid of Thatcher and somebody in the Parliament said that I was watching the House of Commons and they said like, well, Margaret Thatcher's approval rating in California is very, very high. Of course, nobody in California votes for anybody in the British Parliament, House of Commons, and so they all laugh because it doesn't. That's why when people from Europe tell us, well, you can't vote for Trump, he's an idiot. It's like, what business of it is somebody from Europe telling me I can't vote, that I shouldn't vote for Trump?
Well, yeah, but along the same lines, what do we care if the European banks fail?
Here we go again. They're all interconnected like a house of cards. They're like a linchpin. The whole fucking drain everything will circle down the drain. It'll have an effect on the world because we do business with the world. Who are we going to sell our stuff to, right? If the whole world goes down the drain, I mean, who are we going to sell our stuff to, right?
They don't buy our stuff. We buy our stuff.
They buy our energy. The U.S. is now the #1 energy producer on the planet. They buy our liquid natural gas. They buy everything. They buy all kinds of energy, and so from us.
Just think about all those American ships that redirect to Hawaii because they're not taking the stuff over to England.
They can't because those ships aren't allowed to land in Hawaii, dock in Hawaii because of the Jones Act. They can go from New York.
That's what you say. They have to be American made.
Yeah, and American crewed. And
so they've got these American made ships with American crews. They're wasting their lives going to Europe. They could be coming out there.
I don't think those are Chinese built ships. Those aren't American built ships that are going to Europe. The American built ships are going to Puerto Rico, I think, whose treasurer, by the way, is like facing tax fraud charges, and something Hawaii and Illinois can look forward to. But yeah, the Jones Act just kind of like screwed up the Puerto Rico and Hawaii's chances of ever getting reasonably priced cereal. I've been wondering. I was hoping I could talk to Dusty because it's basically. So I heard something on one of the business channels saying that that corn futures were going up too, and I don't know if that's because of bad weather, flooding, or just commodities in general, and sinking fiat currencies. I can't believe I said Margaret Thatcher, but one female British prime minister is pretty much the same as the next, I guess. But
no way. There'll never be another Margaret Thatcher.
Right. What was her famous line from that movie? Sink it. What was the ship? That was actually an American-built ship that I think that she had a British sub sink that was sold to Argentina over the Falklands, and it was used in the Falklands War.
They had an American sub, I believe, but they had British ships. That's how they were able to fight the British. They knew all the weaknesses in the ships.
They had like a Pearl Harbor ship. Like they had an American.
They had a sub. I thought
it was that carrier. What was that carrier that they had?
It's going to drive me up a wall. I keep wanting to name off French carriers. It's not that. It's boy, I want to say it's like Rio something or other.
You might be right. I remember
But I don't know that was an American carrier.
I forgot. I know they had some American ship that was like something.
Didn't they have one named like General something or other? And
yeah, but before that,
Rio
it was,
something or other.
before that, it had an American name because it was an American ship from Pearl Harbor. But
Huh.
I don't remember too much. By the way, speaking of naval trivia, I've never told you the answer. That's what did
Chester Nimitz and Isaguro Yamamoto have in common?
Yeah, what physical deformity did they have in common? Did you ever figure that out?
Thought I said it was a club foot or something.
It wasn't a club foot, and it wasn't that they were bald or anything. No, it was that they had they were both missing a knuckle from their small finger on their hand, and they had to have special gloves made because of that. They were both basically short one knuckle in their small finger on the hand. And the reason I know that is because when they made the movie Midway, no, was that the movie? Yeah, that was the movie Midway. It was the Japanese, the actor that played Yamamoto had his uniform made up in Japan, so it would be perfect historical match. And they found that out. And then when he got to the set, the guy who was the actor who was playing Nimitz had done the same amount of research on Nimitz, and they both had the General Belgrano. Thank you, Steve D. But yeah, so they both realized that they both had they had their uniforms kind of custom made to be perfect and tailored, and so they both had to have special gloves made to have the gloves be historically accurate too. Because white gloves are a Navy thing, I guess, right?
Navy and Marine Corps, like dress uniform.
And we were issued white gloves, but you only used them for like inspections. You didn't, and not even like a dress inspection, like cleaning stuff.
All right. Okay, so on the Mac 11 update, you clean the trigger and it's working better. And how many times have you been taken to the range?
I took it twice. I cleaned like everything, the whole area, that just took it down a 10 to 0. And yeah, it's pretty smooth now, and it's blowback, so it's got a lot of it really comes back a little bit, and the trigger slaps your finger forward. And I think it's just the design is kind of poor of the hammer, and yeah, if you throw the fake suppressor on the end, then it makes it a lot easier to shoot. But then if you walk around and you like put both your hands around the pistol grip, you end up looking like Rick Grimes.
Are they going to ban fake suppressors too?
Probably.
It looks scary, so let's ban it. I mean, even though it doesn't have any function whatsoever. If it attaches to a weapon, ban it. Right. I mean, yeah. All right. So yeah, I've been pretty happy lately. It's basically with my crypto stash, it's been doing great. It's Bitcoin's over 11,000, feeling stronger every day if you hold crypto. So basically, I'm really just trying to figure out, because gold is going up and crypto is going up, and there's with the whole thing with Brexit, I'm just wondering if people are getting nervous that that the Black Swan event is like getting close. What do you guys think?
I don't know about a black swan event, but people who are prepared or some level prepared are, going to be ready either way. But
Well, you never get basically like Mike Tyson said. You always think you're ready until somebody hits you in the face. So, or until he punches you in the face. So, it's my stuff basically is I'm as ready as I can be given where I live and what I have to work with. I think I've done the best with what I can do with what I've got as far as preps go. I don't have a year's worth of food stashed in my condo. I got a few months, but I don't think I'd really enjoy having to live off just Mountain House food, but and maybe oatmeal, but, and canned beans. But I wouldn't die of.
You can't take it all with you into the jungle.
What do you mean I can't take it all with me into the jungle? Why not?
If you had a year's worth, that's a lot of stuff to transport.
Well, yeah, I could tie it onto the top of my blazer somehow, or make more than one trip, or bury it in my proposed bug out location and hope nobody buys the land and builds something on it and finds my stash. But what did you hear? Basically, did you see Oklahoma Prepper? He can't make it on tonight because he's working on the fire truck. But the locusts took out his whole garden. Basically, his crops like pretty much dead. So it's like the grasshoppers ate all of everything that he planted, pretty much.
that stinks.
Bring back DDT.
Well, you could still buy DDT.
Really? Can I get it on Amazon? Because
Yeah, you can.
oh well, you got to log on.
You get it on Walmart too. I'm such an Amazon fucking prepper. I wouldn't have one number 10 can of Mountain House because they don't sell that locally around here. You can buy the bags at Walmart, the individual servings, but yeah, I mean, and I don't know. I need to go get some coffee tomorrow, and tomorrow first thing I'm gonna go get my prescription refills and hit Walmart for a supply run. Get a ton of coffee, and I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna buy more whiskey. I already have so much flipping whiskey. I don't even drink that. I had one. I made a Ricky, which is basically bourbon and lime juice and some simple syrup. Splash of club soda. And it's pretty nice. But it's like I already have so much bourbon and whiskey. Oh, there's a question I wonder if you guys know. You know where the name bourbon came from?
No.
Anybody out there know that? Let me check
A county in Kentucky.
Go back a little further. Where'd that come from?
The person who settled the county.
Go back further. Where'd they get the name bourbon from? I mean, there's a county in Kentucky called Fayette County, to give you a hint, named after Marquis de Lafayette. So that's Fayette County. I don't see anything in the external, and so I don't know, but I'll tell you. So the name bourbon, going back to the Revolutionary War, was named after the King of France. King Louis was from the 16th, I think, or 20. Was it the 16th? I forget. He funded the Americans' Revolutionary War and gave America a lot of money to fight the war. against England, and King Louis was from the House of Bourbon in France, so that's where the name came from. So if there wasn't a Revolutionary War, there would be no bourbon. I mean, Americans used to drink rum, but the British supplied the rum, and so since during the Revolutionary War, Britain wasn't exactly super popular, they started making whiskey with rye and grains, and then they switched to corn instead of hauling corn around because it was easier to make money. So they eventually came up with Tennessee corn liquor, but also known as Jack Daniels, number 7, sour mash. But so bourbon came from the House of Bourbon, from King Louis I think the 16th, who financed the American Revolution, the King of France. So, see, you give me one book on the bourbon bartender, which has a history of bourbon in it, and I get out of control mixing all kinds of whiskey cocktails and that stuff, and stockpiling bourbon and stuff in my preps. I mean, I bought a 1.75 liter bottle of Evan Williams bourbon, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and it wasn't super expensive, but I think that's the first distillery in Kentucky. I think, I forget what state it's from, but
All right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta.
Okay, thanks for the Mac 11 update, Jared. I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to go to sleep because you got work in the morning or school or something in the morning.
Yep, awesome. Thanks. Have a good
See you
one.
later. God bless.
All right, catch you later.
See you, Squid.
Right. So now that we got the Yamamoto Nimitz thing under in the wake of history, thinking, well, should I just cover cryptos really quick, or do you want to talk about, is there some gun stuff we need to talk about first? Bridge on the River Kwai. I really liked William Holden in that film, and Sir Alec Guinness. I was hoping you would watch that one because that brings up issues. I know you had some stuff. We had a disagreement once over The Great Escape, that film, but in the my Air Force survival manual, it has like the U.S. soldiers' guide on how they're supposed to conduct themselves if they're captured. And have you ever seen that?
Seen the guidebook?
No, it's like one. Well, let me get it. It's like just a 6-point U.S. soldiers. Let me get it right. I don't want to make any mistake here. Let me just get it right so I don't get my verbiage wrong and screw up. 1 second to the other room. All right, here. Let's see. U.S. Air Force Survival Handbook. Yeah, it's basically like this: your soldiers' responsibilities if you're shot down or something like that for an airman, which is what they were in the Great Escape. So, and I don't know if it was in. I think it applies to all the services, but let me find it. It's right near the beginning somewhere.
You're supposed to tell your captor that they have to follow the Geneva Convention. You're not supposed to help them with the war effort. You're supposed to try to escape if at all possible. You can work, but it's got to be something like keeping the prison clean or working on the prison farm or something like that. You're teaching him how to fight Americans or something like that.
That was the thing.
The rank structure. So if you're in with a bunch of other people, say like I was captured and I was with an Air Force colonel, he's a colonel. So I don't go, screw you, you're in the Air Force. I follow his orders, whatever it is. So the highest ranking person is supposed to take charge. And it's
U.S.
kind of a judgment call, too.
U.S. Fighting Man's Code of Conduct.
Okay.
6 points. That's why I really wanted to. I was hoping you could one day watch Bridge on the River Kwai, because in that film, the British.
The film was fake. That's not what they really did in real life.
But you haven't even seen the film. The issue was.
No, I watched an interview on it, and they said that's not what they really did.
Right, but
yeah,
the British surrendered. They were ordered to surrender. From Singapore. So the British prisoners in the film were ordered to surrender. So they couldn't really refuse work. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting point. And what the colonel, the British colonel who was commanding the troops in the film said as well, since we were ordered to surrender, if we try to escape, that would be against what we were ordered to do. and it was really I thought that was really interesting, because basically the William Holder was the fake American officer in the prison camp, and he said, well, that's just it. We're sitting here in the jungle in the middle of nowhere. There's no civilization. There's no rules. It's just the jungle. They don't even have a fence. If you try to escape, it's like, 1,000 miles to get of just jungle in every direction. Where are you going to go? And the British, commanding officers said, well, we were ordered to surrender. So if we try and escape, we'd be in violation of, we'd be violating our orders, right? And which the American thought that was crazy. But anyway, so the U.S. Fighting Man Code of Conduct, just 6 points. It says, 1, I'm an American fighting man. I serve in the forces which guard my country and a way of life. I'm prepared to give my life in their defense. 2, I will never surrender of my own free will. If in command, I will never surrender my men while they still have the means to resist.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. We had to recite this stuff in boot camp.
Okay, I'm just going to read it in case other people don't know that are listening.
Yeah, no, I just hadn't heard in so long. I sort of forgot it. So please continue.
Yeah. 3, if I am captured, I will continue to resist by all means available. I will make every effort to escape and aid others to escape. I will accept neither parole nor special favors from the enemy. 4, if I become a prisoner of war, I will keep faith with my fellow prisoners. I will give no information or take part in any action which might be harmful to my comrades. If I am senior, I will take command. If not, I will obey the lawful orders of those appointed over me and will back them up in every way. 5, when questioned, should I become a prisoner of war, I am required to give name, rank, service number, date of birth. I will evade answering further questions to the utmost of my ability. I will make no oral or written statements disloyal to my country and its allies or harmful to their cause. 6, which is the last point, I will never forget that I'm an American fighting man, responsible for my actions and dedicated to the principles which made my country free. I will trust in my God and in the United States of America. That's the U.S. Fighting Man's Code of Conduct. And it was in the U.S. Air Force Survival Handbook. Which says the portable and essential guide to staying alive, shelter, nutrition, navigation, evasion, psychology, equipment, injury, and illness. So, but I've been definitely reading. I have read through it, and for back to it again, because there's a lot of information in there. But That was in there, and I hadn't seen that before because I wasn't in the military. I'm a civilian. But you remember that from boot camp?
Yeah, now that you recited it, yeah, it's starting to come back to me. But I mean, that kind of goes with what I said about what you're supposed to do. See, here's one of the things. When we were in boot camp, they said that one of the reasons they treated us the way they did was because they were treating us in some ways like prisoners of war to get us ready for the worst case scenario. Now, nobody wants to get captured, and I damn well wasn't going to, but it happens. Sometimes you get knocked out and you wake up and you're in an enemy prison. But the whole escape thing, the whole don't help out, don't this, don't that. They depending on how your captors are, they may put you in a position where you may have to bend or break some of those rules to keep somebody alive. A lot of stuff really comes down to a judgment call, and that's why the best thing to do is not get captured. When the Japanese attacked either Midway or Wake Island on December 8th, 1942, the Marines were outnumbered and they had older equipment and they didn't have any resupply, any reinforcement. Nobody was coming to save them. And they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought. The Japanese just kept coming. And finally, the Navy commander of the island, you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember which one it was specifically.
Wake Island, Alamo, the Pacific, right?
Okay. The Navy commander ordered the Marines to surrender. The Marines did not want to stop fighting. They were losing men left and right. They kept falling back, but they just kept fighting. And he said, "No, we're done. And then the Japanese proceeded to behead them. So, yeah, there's a lesson to be learned there. I'd rather fight to the death and take a bunch of them with me than, die on my knees with my hands bound behind my back. So, and, I'm sure the guy didn't know, but he was the highest ranking person there. He was in charge and they followed their orders. So sometimes following your orders when that stuff happens is not good.
Yeah, that's why I thought you might you'd have something to talk about if you ever watch Bridge on the River Kwai, but maybe one of these days to get around to it.
You mean how they helped the Japanese build the bridge, but in real life they didn't?
No, I mean how that if he escaped, he would be breaking his orders because the British troops were ordered to surrender at Singapore.
That's just asinine.
That's what William Holden's character thought, and that's what was, of course, it was a great film. I thought. I mean, compared to the other thing that you saw, it's like blows away Kingdom of Heaven or anything. But it had Sir Alec Guinness in it for one thing, and he was a good actor. He played the British officer, so.
Yeah, what he should have done was use a Jedi mind trick on the Japanese. Then, we wouldn't have any problems. But
well, he kind of did use a mind trick, but it was ill conceived. In any event, I won't give away the rest of the plot any more than I already have. But all right. Let's see. So are you working on, have you done any extra preps or other than working on your garden lately? Or, I mean, do you think there's any reason to do any more prepping than you usually do lately? Or
no, I mean, I actually was looking for a way to so I was thinking, all right, let's say the grid does go down, but we don't know how long it's going down for. There's no powers, no telecommunication. And I've told you before, my plan is to set tight for a couple weeks.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. In the meantime, plumbing's going to start backing up fast. Where are we going to go? Well, I was actually trying to figure out a way to make some sort of covered place on the corner of the property, corner of the lot, whatever you want to call it, where we could do our business undercover, but it would kind of go somewhere, or I would be able to, maybe make a hole that.
Well, if you did it, if you set it up, could you set it up on the edge of that kind of hill that flows down to the railroad tracks?
Right, that's what I was thinking. There's actually, the way some trees and bushes are, in the summer, they make natural cover. You could be squatted down in there, nobody'd see you. But I thought maybe I could get some wood and some sandbags, and I could reinforce this into like a little corner. And if we had to, I could maybe dig a hole or do something with that ledge and work it out where it's got the capability to hold a lot of waste, if you will. And just put like a wooden door over it. And if we had to, we could squat and do it. Because, you can say have all the food you want. You can have a garden. You can have whatever. But eventually the plumbing is going to start backing up. And that's another thing. It's like, how do I shut off sanitary into the house? As long as I keep water in there, it'll keep the stench out. But if that stuff starts backing up, how, it's like, I don't really have a way to cap it off or plug it. So at that point, we'd probably be bugging out, because at that point, the house would not be livable. Once we start having raw sewage back up through all the drains.
How long do you think that would take?
I don't know. See, that's just it. You're going to have a lot of people die off with nothing, but you're still going to have people doing what they do. And they can't flush the toilets per se, but you could flush it with rainwater. You literally could get a bucket, keep it outside, collect rainwater, and dump it, and it'll flush the toilet. I don't know if my neighbors are even that smart. They realize that. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another. We're not going to have running water, so people aren't going to know what to do. They'll probably go dig a hole in their backyard and crap. But I don't know. It's just kind of, I want to have some sort of, I guess, half-ass outhouse in the township. So yeah, I was actually looking at that this weekend when I was working on the yard. So we've just been doing a lot to try to fix up the house. As far as prep, so just the garden, that's all.
Yeah, I like your garden videos. Because I don't have one, and I'm jealous of every time one of my friends makes a garden video. I was like, I'm just jealous. But the thing about the grid going down is nobody really knows what to expect, because until the grid goes down, it's not down. So, it's not down until it's down. It's up. And so nobody really knows how to act when the grid goes down, and or what to do. So, it's nice to have some plans and some preps, but yeah, I'm still working on stuff and some videos and some of my preps and tactical stuff, but I can't wait till the pool is back, because the condo pool is empty, and that's my emergency water source. Something that I think Oklahoma, who could make it on tonight because he's working on the fire truck, but he said he didn't understand why my countertop water distiller had a charcoal filter after the distillation, after the condensation tubes and the fan. The water flows from the tubes through a charcoal filter before it goes into the carafe. You didn't understand why, if the water was taken from liquid to vapor and then back to liquid, why I would need to filter it again. And the reason is because man-made chemicals can go through that same process too. So, like, maybe if you had DDT or DEET or PCBs or gasoline, some man-made chemicals can go from liquid to vapor and back to liquid too. So having an extra filter stage can come in handy, even though distillation gets out all the solids. It doesn't necessarily take out man-made chemicals.
That DDT and DEET are way different, right?
I don't know anything about them. I know that the stuff they sell for off, that stuff will last forever.
Yeah, that's DEET. DDT is a pesticide that it was outlawed in the 70s. But that shit'll kill anything, including people.
So what exactly was in Agent Orange that was supposed to have caused cancer?
Bad stuff.
Such as? Because I don't know.
Well, I guess I can Google it.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't exposed to it.
Lucky you. I know there's a drink in my bartender's tabletop book called Agent Orange, but I haven't mixed that one up yet.
I can't name off these chemicals. There's too many whatever in them. I can tell you that some of the veterans of the first Gulf War said they were exposed to depleted uranium and that gave them cancer. I was around depleted uranium and never gave me cancer. It's not radioactive, so.
Right, it's depleted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of the politicians, since you brought up veterans and the VA, I think. The politician Beto O'Rourke or whatever, he wants to have some kind of progressive tax on people who aren't in the military, or if you don't have a veteran in your family, then he wants to have a special tax for civilian.
Why? To encourage families to encourage its family member to join?
The theory is that they would use the money to benefit veterans somehow. I mean, you know what the chances of
yeah,
that
I
happening
haven't seen
are.
any of that veteran money.
I mean, you know what the chances of the government instituting a tax and actually spending it on what they say they want to spend it on are.
Yeah, it's a bunch of crap. Yeah, it looks like Agent Orange caused a bunch of birth defects in Vietnam, and dioxin, which is in a lot of stuff. Dioxins will cause cancer, so that was in it.
So basically, what they used it for was to jungle defoliation, so to take away.
The enemy had no place to hide, but that stuff just lingered around, and I mean, yeah, it was kind of like DDT in the sense that it worked really good, but we really didn't understand how dangerous it was. It's kind of like asbestos. Worked really good. We didn't understand how dangerous it was.
Well, but we knew how dangerous the enemy was, so it's like smoking cigarettes in a war zone.
Yeah, but what's the point in coming home, surviving the war, only to find out 20 or 30 years later you have cancer? So.
Well, I would say that the entire concept of warfare is mass insanity, but that hasn't stopped it.
Well, now, see, that segues into something else. Donald Trump didn't want to retaliate against Iran because 150 people might die.
I don't think that's why he didn't want to retaliate.
That's what he said.
Just because he says something, that doesn't mean that's all he's. I could think of a lot of other reasons not to retaliate against Iran that have nothing to do with whether or not it's killing 150 Iranian military personnel would be bad. Which the chief one is which we're winning economically. Why waste the fucking ordinance? All we have to do is wait for their economy is collapsed. I mean, it's not collapsing. It's not black. It has collapsed. All we have to do is sit and wait. We're winning, and we don't have to fire a fucking shot. That regime is it's pretty much a zombie government. They won't last very much longer. They've got whatever Obama money they've got squirreled away from that cash payment. They better hang on to it because they're gonna fucking need it.
I disagree. The Iranians don't understand anything but force. They're nothing but a bunch of animals.
They understand the government. They understand starvation. If regular people can't, if the regular people, all in the country, who are working, have jobs and stuff, if they can't scrounge together enough money for food anymore, that government's on its way out. And why should we Let them do it. Why should we would just be clouding the issue by intervening? Let the Iranian take care. Let them deal with having a shattered, bankrupt country themselves. Why should we cloud it with nationalism by killing an Iranian or a group of Iranians when that it's like, why waste the ammo? They're gonna die. That regime is dead already. I mean, they just don't know it yet. I mean, I think they do, and they're just lashing out. That's why, well, let's shoot down a drone. They aren't going to shoot down at something that can actually shoot back like a warship. And what I was saying earlier is that, I mean, what Reagan did was he reflagged the Kuwaiti ships in the 80s, right? So they would have a U.S. flag on them. And then if they shot at a U.S. ship, then the Navy could just go in and pound them. But I think why waste the ammo? I mean, it's like, if you can kill, if like I was saying the other day, the cool thing about a rabbit stick, which is like 2/3 of boomerang, if you can kill like a game animal with just a rabbit stick, why waste a shotgun shell on it? If you could just carve out a stick and throw it at it. And that's what we're doing. We're killing Iran with a rabbit stick. Slow economic death. I mean, but it's their economy is completely just shattered. It has completely collapsed. The currency is worth nothing. They have no chance unless the European politicians come in and figure out some way to get around U.S. sanctions that won't get their countries in more hot water with the U.S. than they could stand.
We've had sanctions against them before. Look, this regime's been in power since the late 70s. They're not worried about their people, and their people are afraid of the regime. They don't understand anything other than force. If they shoot at an oil tanker and they shoot down one of our drones, they get emboldened. If we don't respond, they look at it as weakness.
I don't think they consider the United States Navy weak, and I don't think they consider Trump afraid or anything, or weak just because he did launch a strike one time after shooting down. I mean, a drone is only a thing; it's not a person, and we've got like a couple hundred more of them around. Just launch another one, and if they keep shooting him down, we'll do something. But it's like, I'd rather just not cloud the whole issue with. Well, the point is that I was trying to make is there's other lines of logic besides for having reasons not to attack Iran, other than we would have killed 150 people. It's like not clouding the issue with nationalism. It's not wasting expensive ordnance. I think they launched a cyber attack, which to try and fuck with their command and control of their missile assets. But I don't know. It's just I don't have any problem with pounding Iran. It's just it has to be under the right conditions, and I'm perfectly willing to let the sanctions are working, and it's not. It's just a question of how tight you want to squeeze it, and if you're willing to go after everybody. I mean, it's like, are they going to? Are the Europeans really going to try and go around the SWIFT banking system just to help Iran? I don't think so. There's some retired European politicians who might think that because they get paid by a corporation that has interest in Iran, that it might be in their personal interest to do a job and try and get that done. But I just don't think it. I think there's a rational argument for not attacking Iran immediately. I mean, if we don't bomb them today, we could always bomb them tomorrow. I mean, We've got plenty of ammo, and we can still afford to fuck with Iran if we want to. But the economic sanctions, I think, are working. But it's not fast. It's not quick. But their economy is in shambles. They're out of cash pretty much, and I don't think that regime is going to last too long. They've been able to sell oil up until now, and now they're just shutting it down. That completely. They've gone from like 2 million barrels a day to like 40,000 or something, and I think they have to get paid in Chinese currency or something in order to get anything for it. And it's just that's their only export is oil, and they can't sell it anymore. So that's a problem for them. And they have to pay their troops, they have to pay their army, they have to feed their army. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, if we have to bomb them, we'll bomb them. But I'm not sure we're going to have to. The government may collapse just from the sanctions because they don't know how to. It's like when Chairman Mao took over mainland China, he was a really good guerrilla fighter, okay? And he proved that. He beat the Japanese, he beat Chiang Kai-shek, and he was a good, but he didn't, and he could take over the government, and all of mainland China, but what he couldn't do was he didn't have the faintest idea of how to run an economy. And so when he thought, well, because we have more people than Britain, we should be able to outproduce British steel. So I'm just going to order everybody in China to stop farming and start making steel and go to school and learn how to make steel and work in steel plants, and we'll build steel plants. And so 20 million people died from starvation because people stopped farming. He had no idea. So the Iranians don't know how to work it. They know how to sell oil, but we aren't letting them do that. And they don't have any other tricks up their sleeves. They got no more cards to play. They don't have a nuclear weapon. They're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. That's my personal opinion. But I think we could take our time about pick. I think we could pick our time, pick the right time and right moment if you're going to do something. Military. That's one thing America doesn't always do, or most countries don't do. They let events dictate. I mean, if you're gonna, I think we should be more cold and calculating and really pick a good moment if we're gonna fuck with them in a military way, and have a plan to win and have something that will work and that's well thought out, and not just I want to blow up some shit in Iran because they shut down a drone. I don't know. I would really just rather, I mean, look at what the Japanese did at Pearl Harbor. They picked a pretty good time, and they still fucked up. They missed the carriers. They didn't blow up the dry docks. They didn't take out the oil storage. They could have done a lot of other things that they didn't do. And they took their time and picked their spot before they launched their attack. And it was devastating, but it was a complete failure strategically. They missed all the priority targets, and they just pissed off America, and without really doing anything strategically. What's the word I'm looking for? That would strategically hamstring America. I mean, sinking a bunch of battleships, that's bad. Killing 3,000 Americans, that's bad. But they really missed, that was a big mistake for them. I mean, signing a pact with Hitler was a big mistake. and it went downhill. But that attack, all I'm saying is you have to pick the right time and the right targets, and you have to have a pretty good plan. And right now, the economics are working. I don't think we should. I don't think just, well, they shut down a drone, let's blow them up. I think I'm a lot more cold and calculating of a person than that. I'm hoping our president is, but I don't know. I'm not the president, and I don't have to make those calls. Thank goodness. All I know is I'm buying some habanero jelly after I saw somehow Oklahoma Prepper's garden video got me into habanero, and then I did some research and I decided I wanted to get some habanero jelly, and I've never seen that in the stores around here. So I found some off of Amazon, and I picked one with 5-star reviews. But the one with just 5-star reviews usually don't have lots of reviews. They're smaller, newer companies. So, but I'm going to get some of that stuff. All right. Let's see. Before I think I might want to talk about cryptos. If there's anything else we should talk about. So, did anything I say make any sense at all to you there, Squid? Or do you disagree with all of it, which is perfectly okay?
That's all I'll say.
Okay. All right, so people can read that into that. All right. So I put up the gold chart earlier. Did you see the gold chart, the 10-year Argentina peso gold chart? I'll put that up one more time real quick.
No, but I was looking at silver on SD Bullion.
Yeah, the silver ratio is like 92 to 1, silver to gold ratio. So for 1 ounce of gold, you can get 92 ounces of silver. Did you see they've got the new I don't know, Mint, the U.S. Mint and Provident Metals has the new Guam, the War in the Pacific coin.
Yeah,
the America the Beautiful. Yeah. That looks nice. I was thinking about getting my dad one of those for his birthday. Let me get this chart up real quick. So, in case you missed it earlier, can you see this?
Yeah, looks like Nebraska.
That looks like Nebraska. Okay. So yeah, this is the gold. This is the price of gold in Argentina, which is having a little bit of a currency problem. They had to get a bailout from the IMF, and so this is as you can see, it's a breakout. And so if you have 1 ounce of gold, you could get 60,000 Argentinian pesos. So the U.S. gold dollar chart doesn't look like that because our currency isn't as bad as the Argentina peso, at least not yet, and hopefully it won't be. But it's starting to look like this in Canada, and if the whole thing with the EU goes south because Britain's pulling out and Brexit, or just the banking system has problems, then all their currencies will look like this. And that's why everybody is rushing into the US dollar, because it doesn't look like this to gold. But the buying power of the US dollar since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was established, is basically 3% of what it was, measured by how much gold it will buy. So, all right, now that I've got that out of the way, that looks like a breakout in the value of gold, or just a collapse in the value of currency, but it's the same 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Now, I'm going to put something up if I can for all. Oh, great. Now I've got black shit appearing all over them. It's not going to let me share my, oh, wait a minute. Well, let me put up the right page first. Cancel. See if I can make it put up what I want to put up. Nope, it's not going to let me do it, I don't think. One last shot. Yeah, Google Hangouts has not been very functional lately, and they're going to stop it completely, it looks like. Probably just going to get a black screen with this. All right, well, yeah, it's worse than a black screen. So Bitcoin's back over 11,000, and it's been, I mean, you really feel pretty, you got to feel pretty good if you have crypto right now, because it just seems to not, it seems to keep going up. And it's not just crashed. Right now, I'm looking, checked it on my phone, it's $11,104. So I never actually bought any cryptos. I just got all mine from mining outputs of Genesis Mining. I can select how I get paid out for my mining contracts on there. Litecoin or Dash or any other, or a lot of cryptocurrencies, not any other, but or get paid out in Bitcoin. It's just whether or not you think it's money from the future. I mean, it seems to be one of the things that if you ask millennials, if you just ask kids about it, they'll know what it is. And a lot of people, it's just an escape from the banking and government fiat currency system. And for a lot of people, and with the whole thing with Facebook, it's bringing a lot of attention to it. They're having something that's kind of like cryptocurrency, but not really. And my opinion is just, if you don't trust Facebook with your personal data, why would you trust it with your money or your currency? And so I'm not going to be doing anything with Libra myself. I'm going to just, I like the more well-known cryptocurrencies, like Dash, Litecoin, Ethereum. Ethereum seems to be doing well lately, but it's funny. You could go on, if you just Google it or use whatever your favorite search engine is and type Bitcoin in, you will get predictions like that either Bitcoin will go to 100 million by 2021 or $1 by the end of the year. So it's just, I think people have pretty much decided to either hold on to it or get into it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when there's less liquidity and some of the exchanges that aren't quite so honest about people's accounts. The only advice I would ever give anybody is don't keep your currency on the exchanges, because I don't trust any of them. Use a wallet. I'm planning on getting a Trezor myself, and because the Exodus wallet actually works with the Trezor. So that's on my list of things to do. But right now, I'm still on more basic preps before I'm getting to. I mean, I like my silver and my gold stash. It's really cool because what's really cool about having silver and gold is if there's a problem with the currencies or the economy, you don't have to go to a bank to get it. If you have it at your house or there's a secure location, nobody else can take it away from you unless by force. And you don't need to rely on the banking system. And it's very difficult for the government to, I mean, the reason they depress the price of silver and suppress the price of silver and gold is because they want people to think that fiat currency is money. And it's like, how do you like your whiskey? You like it? I know that Dusty likes it straight up when he doesn't drink it anymore, but he likes it straight up. But if the Federal Reserve has been through its inflation targets since 1913, when it was established, if the dollar is only worth 3% of what it used to be in 1913, then you're working for some pretty watered down whiskey. And I don't mind whiskey cocktail drinks. I have been learning about all the different kinds, and there's a history of them. So I don't think whiskey straight up is just the only thing that works. I think there's all, but so, but you can't. Gold isn't really something that can be diluted. I mean, it's either, if you got a 99% coin or a 99.99% bar, then it is what it is. And aside from a very expensive process, the only way you can, the gold is made in a supernova when the sun goes supernova, and there's probably a lot of it around that hasn't been accounted for, or the people aren't claiming, or the government isn't talking about. But so there's no really way to know exactly how scarce gold is. Silver is pretty scarce, and because it's used in the in industry, they have, but I don't know how much of a currency kind of metal silver really is anymore. It's got industrial uses, but I don't think people are using it for currency anymore, except for numismatic collectible items like the coins, like silver eagles, or coins that people like to collect. But I think of it more like an industrial metal. It's like a rare earth metal when we're talking about rare earth metals, because it gets used up, and the the cost of production and mining and refining silver is above the cost of the spot price that is generated by paper markets on the COMEX. So if it costs less to buy and sell it than it does to mine it, and it's used, I mean, eventually there's going to be a shortage. Don't know when. But it's like Russia and China and all the people that don't like the U.S. and want to get out, be able to evade the power of the world reserve currencies and the SWIFT system, the control that the U.S. has over the world economic system by controlling the SWIFT banking system. They want to buy gold. And it's like we're doing the same money printing and quantitative easing, which is money printing, as all the banks and the Central European banks that have problems. It's just they're in way worse off shape than we are, and compared to them, we look like a good investment. The stock market, the economy, the jobs. I mean, I think Trump's doing a lot of good stuff. And he's doing, but I mean, we do have a $23 trillion national debt and a lot of unfunded liabilities, and so, like I said, the grid isn't down until the grid is down. Right now, the grid is up. If and when the grid is down, it'll be like getting punched in the face. I mean, you won't be able to go to the store and swipe your credit card anymore. And that'll be bad, because how are people going to eat? Because that's how 90% of the food purchases are done. You go to people go to the supermarket, they take their plastic and they swipe it. And they don't even have the money that they're swiping most of the time. So without that, people can't eat. So if the banking system goes down, there's going to be problems. So I guess you just do what you can do, prepare what you can, and hope for the best. And try and have fun. Well, when I do prepping, I always try and have fun doing it. I don't like to do fear mongering and stuff, but I do like to talk about current events and what's happening, whether it's the French women's soccer team's uniforms being terror bad, like hospital gowns, or stuff in Iran, or just the price of gold seems to be going up, and the price of crypto seems to be going up, and maybe that's an indicator of problems in the world economy. And personally, I do think it matters if the European system goes down. But hey, excuse me. Grab some of this beer. Ooh, Pacifico. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Saved my life. So hey, guns are part of prepping and they're fun. And so if you just ever get confused and don't know what to buy a new gun. Because that's always a fun experience. If you don't have to go through too much red tape and government horseshit regulations. And it's hard to go wrong with that as a prep. I don't like to just have guns as a prep. That would be just too what's the word I'm looking for? One-dimensional. That would be just be only into guns and ammo. That'd be one-dimensional. So I think that's part of why I got into other things. And my show, I don't just talk about guns in my show. I like to talk about guns. So, but I also talk about other stuff. So thanks for tuning in and listening to me babble for an hour or so every week, everybody. It's really cool, you guys. And I've got some more videos coming out. I do try and come up with interesting topics or just talk about current events and keep up to date on what's happening in like the Second Amendment arena of lawsuits and litigation and politics and silly bills and dumb bills and crazy gun control schemes that don't make any sense. But I seem to keep busy doing stuff. Wish I had a garden I could work on, but if they don't fix that pool soon, I'll fill it in and plant something. There's nothing sadder than an empty pool. Sorry. Damn. All right. I'm going to close this one out before I choke.
Wrong pipe, man.
What's that?
Wrong pipe. Slow down for a second. Take a breath.
I think I'm better.
Sometimes it creeps up on you. Just get it like a dry, scratchy throat.
Okay, we got to get to the chopper, so we'll see you next week. How's that?